Alright, settle in. Get a smug look on your face. Perhaps brew a kettle of tea or whatever and sit back. Because I'm going to tell you the story of the worst mistake I've ever made so far in my life, in running a business, in being an artist professionally. This story sucks. It makes me look like an idiot. But I think it's worth sharing because I learned a big old lesson, and I actually have had about a year now to reflect on that lesson and try to garner some sense of peace in the process. So let's pull back the shame curtain and experience the cringe that I've had to live with. So remember 2019? So about 3 or 4 months into the COVID pandemic, a friend of mine reached out and presented me a potential opportunity. He told me that he was helping renovate a giant warehouse in Hamden, and that he was building equity to eventually open up his own restaurant on the top floor. The bottom floor would be used as a general event space, and then the rest of upstairs would be office spaces and potentially other businesses. He was reaching out to me because the guy that had brought him in said to him that he wanted to make a giant mural downstairs in the event space. At this point, I was kind of in a hole with creative endeavors, and professionally, I was just dead in the water. So I said, yeah, a mural? That sounds like fun. Let's check it out. So I ended up going in, meeting with the dude, who I will call Mike. And Mike told me, I want you to paint a 70-foot mural across this whole wall here, and I want you to do it in the theme of the restaurant, which will be called the Brass Tusk. So I want it to be African, safari, jungle themed, and his idea was basically to create a panoramic scene that transitioned from the jungle all the way over to sort of the grasslands, with different animals and, themes throughout. So I was pretty stoked about this. I thought it was a great idea, and I thought it was a really cool opportunity to break into doing murals. So early on, we were talking about this potential mural project. I had an idea, and I pitched it to Mike. I said, hey Mike, instead of paying me this amount, which is how much I've determined it would take me time and effort-wise to make a mural to the scale that you're asking for, what if you let me take a studio space upstairs for the next year? Now, the crux of this idea that I need to explain is that this is prime real estate. This is in a really cool, hip area in Baltimore. I knew that it would be somewhere that I could set up and meet with clients, be proud of inviting them there. Generally, I just saw a ton of potential, and Mike was glad to accept my offer. So I kicked off the process. For the next 3.5 months or so, I pretty much just went ham. I spent every single day on site working on the mural to the best of my ability. I started by using a projector to cast the image on every panel of the wall, and I used crayons to trace it on the really porous cement wall. And then from there, it was just a matter of sort of executing the design with paint. And that process took a long time. It was really tedious painting the grass and doing every bit of the detail. But I really did genuinely learn a ton just from the painting process and how to project the mural and trace it onto the wall. So for that alone, I'm really grateful for taking on this opportunity, even though this is going in a bad direction. So all throughout that time when I was working on the mural, there were 3 dudes running around just renovating the entire space, doing everything they could to clear it out from the previous tenants and doing just general renovations. When the mural was done, I waved goodbye to Mike and his companions, and I said, I can't wait to come back. Can't wait to see the event space, to be able to show it off to my friends. Can't wait to see the lights when they're rigged. Can't wait to see the place in full swing. And I just sort of went on my merry way. Went back home, went back to the grind. About 6 months later, I hit up Mike. I say, hey Mike, what's up with the space? Really would love to get up in that studio. Our deal was based upon this sort of trade of goods rather than payment. So let's make it happen. Let me get my end of the deal. Dude responds super defensively, saying that he's really struggled because the place hasn't been able to open. He hasn't finished running the electric up to the studio space that he was going to build for me. I said, listen, Mike, you've been really dodgy. And if I'd known that you would have been so dodgy, I never would have made this arrangement in the first place. I never would have agreed to do any of this on the promise that I'd be given a studio space. Mike got super pissed at this point and told me, how dare I? How dare I accuse him of anything, any sort of swindling, any malintention? So I'm like, all right, cool. Sounds good, Mike. Let's see what happens. Let's just see what happens. In the meantime, I explored my legal options, as one should in this case. Long story short, I didn't have much to stand on. Mike was going bankrupt, and so any sort of small claim that I'd be able to put towards him based on our email negotiations was kind of voided or not guaranteed. Besides that, it would cost me time, cost me money to pursue anything legally without any guarantee of any sort of resolution. So fast forward another 2 months, and I get a text from one of the dudes that was helping build the site. And he tells me, hey, Mike lost the space. And I'm like, okay, so what happens to the mural though? He's like, I don't know, dude. Here's the owner of the building's number. Hit him up. You might be able to negotiate saving the mural in some capacity. So in any case, the only path forward I had was to hit up the owner of the building and to find out if there was any way to keep the mural alive. So fast forward another couple of months, and I hit the owner of the building up. He took a page out of Mike's book and he ghosted me. So that's the story. Now, what lessons did I learn? 1. Don't work with sketch balls. 2. Use contracts. Don't just rely on word of mouth, even if it's typed in an email. It doesn't really matter. And number 3, murals are awesome. They're really fun. They're really fun to make. I definitely want to do more of them. Hit me up to do a mural. If you have money, if you're okay with signing a contract, if you're not a sketchball, hit me up. And time. So, hopefully that was fast enough for your attention span, and hopefully you've learned 3 lessons. Just those 3. So a year later, what's really cool is that I have actually professionally been hired to do a mural. I am setting some up in the future. And the whole thing wasn't a complete fail, as much as I kind of feel that it was. I think one of the most important things about running a business is being willing to learn from your mistakes and not being so keen to beat yourself up over them. I was super pissed at the way that I handled things in retrospect. Looking back, I wish that I had been a little more serious and not just been so like, oh yeah, mural, that sounds awesome. That sounds like so much fun. I'll do anything. I love that mural. I love you. I don't know what that was. Sorry. But guess what? I was learning. I was an idiot. And I'm proud to still be that idiot. But I'm a little less idiotic today. And that's all you can ask for. Let me know any thoughts you have in the comments, but also don't, because I don't want anybody to be like, you should have done, you should have told, and then you should have, because why didn't you? So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.